Welcome. My name is Dan Powers, and I'm the Voter Service Forum Coordinator for the League of Women Voters, Dordt County. The upcoming spring election is on April 5th. This forum includes six of the county board candidates competing on the April 5th election ballot. Two candidates each are vying for three of the three separate contested seats in the Southern Door area of districts 2, 4, and 5. Voters should be aware that after the 2020 census, some Door County supervisory districts have had boundary changes. These new boundaries are in effect for the 2022 election. Your district may well have changed, so we urge you to check. And the best way to do that is you can access all the new district maps by going to the Door County government website, which is www.co.door.wi.gov. And once you're there, click on the upper left-hand area, click on Our County. That will take you to a page that looks like this. And you'll notice the red arrows. There is a heading called County Board of Supervisors. If you go, just go underneath that heading down to this red arrow, and it reads Final County Supervisory District Plan dash effective for the 2022 elections. And then you'll be able to scroll through and find your district map and see where you belong and that you're still in the same district, or if that has changed. You can always check with your municipal clerk also. The candidates for this the contested districts are District 2, Laura Jorgensen and Todd Faze. District 4, Kara Kennard and Nancy Robillard. District 5, Jeffrey Miller and Timothy Smith. We want to thank all the candidates for running for these very important positions. As far as voting, for updated information on voter registration, absentee ballots, where to vote, etc., go to the website on the screen here, myvote.wi.gov, and you'll be able to find all of that information there fairly easily. Starting on or about March 15th, you'll also be able to go to the My Vote site to see all of the candidates on your specific ballot, because each district may be different depending on who's running. But that's where you can go back and actually see your ballot. Next slide, please. Voter service is the #1 priority of the League of Women Voters. We encourage people to run for office, and we hold forums such as this one to help voters become better informed. More information about the League can be found on our website, League of Women Voters, doorcounty.org, and on our Facebook page. As an organization, the League never endorses a candidate or a party. However, we are directly involved in studying and shaping the important issues that keep our community strong. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, not of the League of Women Voters of Door County, nor of the League of Women Voters of Wisconsin. Our sponsorship of the forum is not an endorsement of any of the candidates. The candidates have agreed in advance to the format of this forum. The order of speaking was decided by lot, and it will rotate, assuring each candidate will alternately be the first to respond. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this forum, Jan Livingston.
Hello, I'm Jan Livingston from the League of Women Voters of Door County. This session is a forum, not a debate. Candidates will introduce themselves in 2-minute opening statements. Then candidates will be given 2 minutes to answer each question. However, a candidate may decline to answer any question. The questions for this online forum were submitted from Door County League of Women Voter members. Questions were screened to eliminate duplicates or those that did not meet the league's policy for forum questions. The questions were not shared with the candidates. However, after all the county board forums completed, all the submitted questions will be made available to all the candidates. Candidates, we will not interrupt you as you speak. However, if needed, the timekeeper will say time when your 2 minutes are up. Thank you for stopping when asked to do so. The forum will end with the participants' closing remarks. Each will have 2 minutes to conclude or elaborate on any issue they wish. We'll now begin the forum with candidates making their 2-minute introductory remarks. The number after each name is a reminder of the district in which the candidate is competing. First will be candidate days. We will now begin the question and answer period. To save time, I will only read the question for the first candidate, not for each one, unless a candidate specifically asked me to reread it.
Excuse me, Jan, we'll have
Yes?
to back up there and get the opening remarks, starting with candidate Thays.
Sorry. Candidate Thays.
Is that my cue?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Todd Thays. I'm 60 years old. I'm a lifelong resident of Northeast Wisconsin. I grew up in a small Belgian community just south of the county line in Lincoln. Grew up in a family farm setting. Worked on that family farm for a number of years. My professional life took me to Sturgeon Bay, where I worked at one of the largest employers in Door County, and for 40 years participated in building, engineering, and construction of large-scale maritime vessels in Door County. I recently retired, and I'm married. I've been married to my wife for nearly 40 years. We have 3 adult children who all participated in Southern Door High School. Graduated from Southern Door High School and went on to professional careers. I'm blessed with 8 grandchildren. My hobbies are growing Christmas trees. I also make maple syrup, and we have a large scale pumpkin farm that we have a lot of fun with. I've been fortunate to serve on many volunteer boards in Door County throughout my career. Southern Door Athletic Club president, was part of the Wisconsin Conservation Congress representative for Door County. I've been on the board for the Maritime Museum. I've been the vice chair of the Door County Economic Development Corporation, past chair of the Door County Economic Development Corporation, and been part of numerous Sturgeon Bay waterfront committees and things of that sort. I'm honored to be here tonight and looking forward to this discussion.
Candidate Miller.
Hi, this is Jeff Miller. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for offering this forum to the candidates and also the residents of the county. I'm a lifelong resident of the county, and I have resided in the town of Nassawapi for over the last 15 years. In December of 2021, I retired from Bay Lake Bank, now Nicolet National Bank, after more than 46 years, mainly as a commercial lender. Prior to my retirement, I served as a member and a treasurer of the Door County Economic Development Corporation, as well as the destination Sturgeon Bay. Currently, I am the treasurer and on the board for the Sunshine House Resources of Door County, and as I mentioned, serving as their treasurer. Even though I'm retired, I believe it's important to stay involved in our local community and county. And it would be an honor to represent District 5 as their county supervisor. I believe with my career in banking, I developed the listening skills and the forward thinking, which are needed to be part of any board. In addition, I was also owner of a Idlewild golf course for over 20 years in that same township in Nassau. As I mentioned, I believe I have the knowledge and ability to properly represent my constituents, and I would greatly appreciate the support on April 5th. However, it is important, regardless of how you vote, it is important for you to vote. It's your responsibility, it's your duty, and it's our way of making positive changes. Thank you.
Candidate Robillard.
Hi, my name is Nancy Robillard. I'm married to my husband Reg for just short of 55 years and have lived in the town of Gardner of 50 of those years. I'm asking you for your support in the April election for District 4 County Board Supervisor. I have served 3 terms as County Board Supervisor of District 5, but as part of redistricting, I would now be serving District 4. District 5 did encompass the northern half of Gardner Township, along with part of Nassau. And I'm hoping I would be able to continue representing the interests of the county and making it a great place and to call home. I served on multiple committees and currently serve on the Administrative, Finance, Facilities and Parks, and Sustainability committees. With being the former clerk of circuit court, now retired, and was town clerk and still town treasurer, I feel that I have leadership to be involved in serving our county. I'd like to use my experience and knowledge to continue to serve the community and to help maintain and improve our quality of life and make sound decisions for the entire county. And thank you.
Candidate Jorgensen.
First, I'd like to thank the League of Women's Voters for organizing this event. I'm Laura Jorgensen. I'm 45 years old. I have 1 adult child and a fiance that live here with me in Forestville. I'm a lifelong resident of Door County, 4th generation that was raised on our small family farm in southern Door County. My work experience spans many sectors, including manufacturing, retail, hospitality, tourism, and also the nonprofit sector. My education is business administration and an emphasis on marketing, economics, and sustainability. And I do have some special studies also in sustainable agricultural practices, water quality, and waste management. I'm currently self-employed as a property management, in property management and environmental consulting. I've been a trustee for the Village of Forestville for 8 years and will be running for my 5th term in April. I enjoy traveling, fishing, hunting, snowmobiling, and boating, all the fun Door County things to do. I have a huge greenhouse and a big organic garden, which feeds my family and also several friends and other people in my community. And I love spending time on Washington Island and on the shores of Lake Michigan.
Candidate Smith.
Hello, my name is Tim Smith. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. As far as my background, I've been a resident of the town of Nassau for the past 21 years. Prior to that, my wife's family had a summer home at Gitchigumi Resort down the road since the 1950s. So we've been very familiar with Door County. We moved here from Kewanee. I'm 62 years of age. I recently retired from the Kewanee Power Station after a 35-year career where I worked in the operations and engineering organizations. As far as my education, I've got a Bachelor of Science degree in nuclear science and engineering from the University of Maryland. My wife Judy and I have 2 grown daughters. Our daughters attended the Sturgeon Bay School District because they wanted to participate in swimming. And at the time, Southern Door didn't have that available. So that's where they went to school. My oldest daughter, Courtney, taught at Southern Door School, and now she's teaching at Luxembourg Casco. And my youngest daughter, Kelsey, is a physical therapist with Door County Medical. As far as my experience, I served 4 years as the District 19 County Board Supervisor on the Kewanee County Board prior to moving up to Sturgeon Bay and Nassau. I also have experience as I am currently on the Town of Nassau Board of Review And I served on the City of Kewanee Zoning Board of Appeals and the City of Kewanee Comprehensive Plan Citizens Advisory Committee. My primary motivation for running for county boards is to become more involved in the community. Both Nassau and the County of Door have provided my family and my children a wonderful place to grow and live. And we really enjoy it. And now that I'm retired, it's time for me to give back. When I heard that they were going to be redistricting and drawing new, okay. Thank you.
Candidate Cunard.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. I wanted to make sure to thank the League of Women Voters for their organizing because participating in a candidate forum is such an important aspect of an election. I often say that democracy works with choices, but it also needs an informed constituency. And this is an essential opportunity for District 4 and all of Door County to tune in and hear from the candidates who want to represent them. So thank you for this integral part of the process. And with that said, I'm Kara Cunard, and I'm running for re-election to the Door County Board of Supervisors, District 4. So it's been a really heartening 2 years serving District 4, and I'm grateful because I believe in local government. I believe that local government is where the hope is in politics, because it's where we can affect the change right around us, and the space closest to us is so important. We can make it healthier and more beautiful, and then it grows outward instead of all of this, trickle down stuff. But local government is filled with regular people who care enough about the neighborhood and about the neighbors to show up. So I feel like that's the difference in why I really, really believe in local government. And that's why I'm running, because I want to show up for all of District 4. Because I care, and I want to draw attention to the people who might not be represented, who might not have a voice or feel like they have a voice or have the time to go to all the meetings, because my schedule is super flexible and I'm really, really great at communicating with my constituents. So I want to make all voices amplified, and I really believe that everyone's voice is important. Thank you.
We will now begin the question and answer period. To save time, I will read the question for the first candidate, not for each one, unless a candidate requests me to reread it. The first question goes to candidate Miller. If elected, what 2 priorities would your district's residents want you to pursue? How do you know?
Yeah, I think for District 5, I think there's 2 key issues. One would be internet service, where, as was mentioned, in that area, it's very difficult to obtain good internet, and obviously good internet is important in everyone's daily lives. I think that would be the biggest issue. And then also, of course, you have, as always, the tax issue. I have spoken to numerous constituents. I've attended several of the local township meetings to get a better feel for what their discussion points have been, so that I had a better feel for what the issues may have been. So I believe those are the 2 issues that would face our District 5. Thank you.
Candidate Robillard.
Hi, I would say kind of like Jeff, the same type of answer. Our priority is broadband out here. We have very sparse internet connections. It works sometimes, doesn't work the other. The other thing I would say would be the comprehensive planning. Being that I'm at all the town meetings, I hear quite often about stuff that's going on in the township, the mine, for instance, and different things like that caused a lot of problems. So we're definitely looking into comprehensive planning. Thank you.
Candidate Jorgensen.
I think the 2 most important things in our district, in District 2, would be sustainable land management pertaining to agricultural land and managed forestry, just to protect the water quality and the environmental health, the wildlife, plant life, and the human health as well, drinking water and the air quality. for all the residents here. Also, I believe that infrastructure is a huge concern for everyone out here. Forestville in general, the village and the town has had quite a housing boom like everyone else has and other areas have. We've had a lot of building going on out here and a lot of houses being sold very quickly. So obviously broadband, emergency services, road maintenance, different infrastructure needs to be maintained, but also beefed up a little bit because we're experiencing an increase in our population. Thank you.
Candidate Smith.
I agree with the response that Jeff gave, being that broadband is an issue. And how I know that is from personal experience. It's just been a difficult fight out here in the Idlewild area to try to get reliable broadband. Another priority, which I know is more of a hot topic, has to do with land development and zoning or the lack thereof. And, you know, I don't know what the right answer would be, but I think it's something that needs to be looked at. And when we have our board of review meetings, that's often discussed, and it's a hot topic. So I think we all need to work together and start doing some planning so we don't get caught with not having a plan in place. And that's the two main issues, I think, for District 5.
Candidate Cunard.
All right. I just sent out a letter to my constituents, to the new district, to introduce myself, and I got a bunch of responses right away. So immediately I got a text message saying, if you focus on internet. So internet is I would say like #1 most important. I got a card in the mail talking about how they wanted to focus on water quality and short-term rentals and keeping Southern Door affordable. I've received phone calls. So I guess I would say internet is the most important. And I think keeping, that area affordable for young families to live is also a really important issue. And I know by communicating with the people in my district. Thank you.
Candidate Days.
Yes, it's very difficult to pick two priorities. Obviously, there's a lot of things as a county board supervisor that you need to look at. But I guess for the most part, I agree with the other candidates. Certainly, broadband has taken certainly a pointy end of the stick here as it relates to school and the pandemic and all the things that went on with that. Clean water, certainly, again, we're talking specifically about our district. Certainly, the last couple of years, there's been a lot of discussion about clean water and making sure we're assured that all residents do have clean water. But I think, one of the things that as a District 2 supervisor, we can't not talk about is one of the hottest topics in our district, which has been the Forestville Mill Pond. Certainly the residents of the village of Forestville, certainly the residents in and around the Mill Pond are interested in moving forward. The past 2 years have been difficult. I think the residents of that area have a certain expectation of what they're looking for. The fire department, the community, certainly from a recreational perspective, it's important. So I think those are some of the topics that as a District 2 candidate, certainly you can't ignore.
Question 2 goes to candidate Robillard. The county board is discussing how to use the $5.3 million from the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA. How do you think it should be allocated and why? Candidate Robillard.
Well, actually, I think it's a decision that's pretty much been made already. I think 1.2 million went to human services, 800,000 went to I think the environmental, so much went to each one of there's other candidates, the housing, the just about everything. And it is being, we have decided to leave it up to the department heads and the committees to decide how they want to spend their pot of money, how it is needed in their area. These all came from retreat, you might call it, that we had many months ago, where we were deciding what was the most important issues in the county. And that's where the money has been divided between. Thank you.
Candidate Jorgensen.
So the ARPA funds, that is really, quite honestly, a once in a lifetime opportunity for all municipalities and counties. Obviously, we've been dealing with this from the Village of Forestville standpoint, because we also got some funding to spend. Obviously, when COVID hit, we learned a lot of things. Solid infrastructure is absolutely vital. It's the veins of our county. Upgrades to waste management and infrastructure, wastewater treatment, private septic systems, water treatment, and well water quality are pretty important to me, because I live in a rural area. Rural well upgrading is also important, especially in affected areas and agricultural areas. Well water testing programs as well. Obviously supporting our small local businesses as well, because that's vital to our microeconomy. Also adjusting property taxes for the market boom. Obviously most areas will be experiencing a reassessment soon, as well as the village, with all the recent home sales and inflated prices, which is going to also mean an inflated tax rate, or everyone's taxes going up at some point. Obviously tax credits to support stay-at-home parents, possibly, who choose to homeschool their children. We have this childcare shortage right now, and it's really a big situation in our county, especially in our southern part, where there's a lot of younger families. So I think if people are more able to financially be able to stay home with their children, it'll ease that the childcare shortage as well. Thank you.
Candidate Smith.
Hi, one thing that I think some of this money should be used for is emergency services. I know the Southern Door Fire Department really could use a boost. There's been talks about, if they're going to join with another fire department or whatnot, but I think we need to spend some of this money on our emergency services. And the other thing where I would think where it would be well spent would be on human services, whether that be childcare or that would be mental health support, but I think that is also another need. The internet that we've been talking about, all this evening is of course another place where some of this money should be spent. So that's my opinion on where these funds should go. Thank you.
Candidate Cunard.
Like Candidate Robillard said, we had this budget retreat where we each got stickers, and all of the initiatives were on walls, and we could put them where we wanted, where we thought things were most valuable. And I am really, really proud of Door County. I have to say that I think that the things that are chosen, the buckets that are chosen where the money will go into, is exactly where it should be. I've looked at other counties and cities, and I'm not as excited about other nearby places. And I think Door County did a great job. So affordable housing is getting a bunch of big boosts. The environment, childcare facilities and subsidies, the internet, broadband, and transitional housing. I think these are all really, really good things, and I'm excited about it, and I'm super proud of it. Yeah. I think it's exactly where it should be. Thanks.
Candidate Thays.
A lot of conversation regarding all of these things that we talked about at the county board level. And I think one of the things that hasn't been mentioned yet, that there was at least 2 public input sessions that the county board participated in, listening to the constituents of our county as to where they thought it needed to go. And I think all the topics that have been mentioned, I agree with. Certainly childcare, broadband, emergency services, as Tim mentioned, I've been an advocate of that all along, putting some money in training and recruitment. Obviously with the pandemic over the last 2 years, our our EMS folks, our paramedics, our fire departments have taken a hit, and I think we need to bolster that. Those services are critically important in our county. You know, the numerous social programs. So I can't mention anything any differently than the other candidates have already mentioned. I think we're allocating it as it should be allocated. Obviously, there's always some that think maybe one bucket should be a little bit more full than the other, but it's pretty important, I think, to spread this out and benefit many. And I think we've done that.
Candidate Miller.
Yeah, there's not a lot more to add. I think everything's been covered. I would just like to reemphasize and totally agree with Tim's comment about the emergency services. You know, it's important as we live in more rural districts to make sure that we have the resources in order to provide the services that we need. So as I mentioned, everything's been covered, but I do agree with Tim's comments about the emergency services.
Okay, question 3 goes first to candidate Jorgensen. Door County faces many long-term issues such as economic development, a fragile environment, infrastructure, housing, wages, labor shortages, and child care. Which of these or other issues do you find most critical? Candidate Jorgensen.
Being an environmentalist, I would definitely say the top on my list would be the environment, being that Door County does have such a fragile karst environment. It really doesn't take much to mess a lot up. So I've worked for nonprofits, a couple of them, environmental nonprofits, and done a lot of work in our county. And so many things impact so many people. One small thing can impact so many people. You know, the environment having issues in Door County impacts the residents, it impacts the businesses, and all of that impacts the tourists and our summer residents, which bring a lot of money into this county. Also, I believe that housing and development is a big deal. I really do feel as though we need to limit new development in the county and possibly offer tax incentives to encourage redevelopment of existing properties rather than building new all the time. Also limiting short-term rentals in some areas that are experiencing housing and staff shortages. It's taking away from the housing for folks who are supposed to be working at the businesses that need them. Also encouraging long-term residents rather than just having transient workers for the season, with possibly grants or low-interest loans to purchase or rebuild or build new homes so that we have permanent families and residents staying here in the county year-round. Thank you.
Candidate Smith.
As far as this question, I think the main issue is affordable housing. I'm basing that on the experience of my daughter trying to find an apartment in Sturgeon Bay. Basically, as soon as they come up, they're gone. She ended up taking one sight unseen just to get a place to live. And then the amount that she has to pay for rent, it's just unbelievable. And if we don't have affordable housing, we can't supply the workers we need for the various factories and hospitals or whatever. Some people get a job up here and they can't find housing, so they have to go elsewhere. Another issue that's not on this list that I think we need to maintain is our quality of our education. Having good schools is a draw for people wanting to come here and to live and work. And to add on to the environment issue, I totally agree with the previous candidates' comments on the environment, because maintaining our environment is what draws our people to come up here in the summer and vacation, and that's a huge part of Door County. So thank you.
Candidate Cunard.
This is a really hard one because I think these are all important topics, and I experience these issues too. I think a lot of times they're really intersectional and they all fit together. But I would be remiss if I did not say that the issue that I have been finding most critical right now is internet. I was recently put on the Technology Services Committee, so I'm looking forward to like really diving in and learning more about how that can work to bring internet, quality internet, affordable internet to more of the rural areas in the county. I think it fits in. I think internet fits in with attracting young families to stay, you know, long term, to live and work, and education. I think it fits into. But again, they're all really important issues, and I don't know that focusing on just one is the right thing to do. But I think for me, I'm gonna say internet.
Candidate Days.
Yeah, again, like so many others, these topics do recycle themselves through this conversation. But I think when you talk about economic development, what you're really talking about is a lot of the subtopics that are in here. When you talk about economic development, you are talking about housing, you are talking about wages, you are talking about labor shortages, you are talking about workforce development. That's in certain economic development, I think, goes through stages in a community. Sometimes you're looking to develop people to come in and open a business because you're short on jobs, and sometimes you're looking at developing a workforce or housing to support the jobs that you already have. And I think that's the phase that Door County certainly is in here right now, is finding the labor, finding the housing, finding the infrastructure, finding the childcare that can support the jobs that are here. We're no different than most other communities in the Midwest. Everyone is short. I traveled into Minnesota last week, as I mentioned early on. There's restaurants that are closed and short staffed. So I think our county has to sell who we are. There's a good story here in Door County, and why is it important to try and drive that home to those that have an opportunity to move here, I think is what's keenly important for our community. Thank you.
Candidate Miller.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we, I'm going to lump a couple together under one category. And the category I'm going to start with is just making sure that our young adults after college want to come back to Door County to live and to work, and then bringing these young adults from outside the area back in. And I think that is going to be, to make that happen, I think it's the workforce. You need to have the jobs available, but then as was mentioned, you got to have housing, affordable housing for these younger families to move into, and then of course the broadband filters into that as this childcare. So I think it's important for us to concentrate on making sure that we are attracting the young adults and their young families. Thank you.
Candidate Robillard.
I agree. It's probably all of them, because without the economic development, like they said, the housing, the environment, our quality, our labor shortages, all of that is all tied in. A candidate Miller, to keeping our young people here and to keep the workforce going. It's so many people are having trouble and finding people to work. Places are closing down. Wages are skyrocketing, so prices are skyrocketing. So it's going to be, it's a continuous circle that is going to have to somehow be addressed. Yes. Thank you.
Question 4 starts with candidate Smith.
Oh, boy.
Question 4. Residents sometimes complain their supervisor does not reply to their contacts. If elected, what would be your policy for responding to calls and emails from constituents? How will you get feedback and represent all the residents in your new district? Candidate Smith.
Well, I think communication is one of the keys for a county board supervisor to have with their constituents. And one of the issues while I was on the Kewaunee County Board had to do with building of the Justice Center. And had we done that correctly, had we communicated the need for that correctly, I believe that project would have been completed. But here it is 20 years later and still not completed. And the sheriff down in Kewaunee is still begging for those needs to be addressed because they're spending so much money housing their prisoners at other jails. So if elected, I guess my policy for responding to calls and emails from constituents is I would try to respond as quickly as I could, because I need to get that input from the constituents in order to get my opinions for how I should be voting when we vote on different topics. Then as far as getting feedback and represent all the residents in your district, I would, most likely do some mailings possibly, or emails. I guess I don't have an idea on how that would exactly be done right now. So, but I would come up with some plan when there were hot topic issues, maybe even a public meeting someplace. So thank you very much.
Candidate Cunard.
All right, this is my jam. This is my question. I feel like I'm so good, so good at communicating. And I've gotten the comment before that people are like, yeah, you are one of the only ones that responded and I'm not even in your district. So I feel like I am really good at responding. I like responding to people in the way that they reach out to me as well. So like I got a text message recently, I respond in text message. I got a card, I sent a card back. I just recently got a letter and I sent a letter back. I've talked on the phone for hours with people that I don't know and probably don't agree with on everything. But I think that this is something that I feel really confident about and really comfortable in. And I have no problem with whatever kind of form of communication it is as well. I'm really confident with all forms of communicating. And I think it's something that I'm excelling at on the county board, and I'm hoping to continue. Thanks.
Candidate Days.
Yes, certainly, as an incumbent, your emails and your phone number is posted on the county website, and obviously constituents and residents that have issues or topics or generally want to speak about things that are going on in the county are encouraged to use those formats for responding. And, it's courtesy, obviously, in anything, whether you're on a county board or you're running a business or you've got some sort of a restaurant. If someone that is, a stakeholder, they want to talk to you about, it's common courtesy to report back. I have that, and I would certainly intend to continue to do that, when appropriate. Obviously, there are certain times that you cannot respond, or there's certain things you cannot talk about, and that's where the rubber kind of hits the road. So anyway, that would be my plan.
Candidate Miller.
Yeah, I think any format is certainly acceptable. I think the key thing in dealing with people and communicating with people is just to make sure that you reach out to them. And if you can't get back to them right away, I think it's important at least to reach out to them and say, I can't get to you. I can't take your call right now or whatever. I will get back to you, within 12 hours, 24 hours. Maybe ask what the question is in advance so that in fact you can do some research if needed. But any format is important, but I think it's important for us to reach out to them as soon as possible, even if you might not be able to spend the time that you need, but at least let them know that you have received their message and that you'll get back to them. Thanks.
Candidate Robillard.
I'll be honest with you, I prefer telephone. I think emails and stuff like that, you don't always come up with what the person is really feeling and saying. And sometimes you can take things the wrong way. I personally love to talk to people. That's what I like to do. And I think I can get more out and they can get more from me that way. When I was clerk of court, believe me, I talked people out of just about everything and anything. I was being sworn at, everything else, and by the time we were done, we were usually laughing. I think you could get much more out of a conversation than you can out of an email. Thank you.
Candidate Jorgensen.
Well, as an elected official, I feel like it's my job to answer people who ask questions of me, my constituents. And obviously for the last 8 years, that's what I've done. I'm very fortunate to be able to have a very flexible schedule because I am self-employed, and I work part-time from home, so I'm here a lot. Obviously, I respond to any format of people reaching out to me, telephone, emails, texts. People send me messages on social media and ask questions as well. One of my favorite ways to talk to people, I live right in the middle of town and everyone can see if I'm home or not, especially in the summer. I usually am out in my garden, and it's not uncommon for at least one person a day to stop while I'm out doing my vegetable gardening, to stop and talk about village business or even county business. And I'm not even on the county board, just to express their concerns, or if they have questions that they need answered. I don't always know the answers. I find out the answers and let them know. Obviously, I also approach people that I think would have a vested interest in a certain, with different issues that would, be able to voice their concerns, so that I know maybe if it's not a similar concern of mine, that other people are concerned about it, because I'd like to learn the other opinions on things. Also, I believe that attending other meetings, municipal meetings, as a county board supervisor, coming to the village meeting, the township meeting in our particular district, to be able to report back to those smaller municipalities what's happening on the county level is really important. I don't see that happen very often. I know as a village trustee, I do go to town meetings occasionally, to talk with them, to see where they're at, especially when there's things that traverse the two municipalities.
Time.
Thank you.
Question 5 goes first to candidate Cunard. How would you describe your fiscal philosophy as it pertains to spending and budgeting the county's money? Candidate Cunard?
Yes. All right. Well, we don't have control over the money that comes in because of the levy limit. But what I view money as is a priority. So we can prioritize the money that comes in, and I would prioritize it toward the biggest needs for the greatest amount of people. So like all of the things that the money, that the ARPA money went to, I think that broadband and childcare and the environment, those are things that I would prioritize. I also really, I don't know if this fits in here, but I believe so strongly that we need more participatory budgeting. And I think that we need more people involved. It often is like this shroud around the budgeting process in the county. And it's all happens behind closed doors, it feels like, because people can't attend meetings as much, like people have day jobs and stuff. And I'm lucky that my schedule is really flexible. But I believe that there should be more opportunities for people to get involved in the county and provide their input on what their priorities are for budgeting. So I really, those are the things that I feel strongly about. I'm not sure if participatory budgeting fits in with the fiscal philosophy, but I guess my fiscal philosophy in a short would be people over everything. Thank you.
Candidate Thays?
Yeah, for me, it's fairly simple. I'm a pay-as-you-go person. I'm not a fan of deficit spending or deficit budgeting, for that matter. And then I think the counties did a pretty good job of allowing for some rainy day funding. So I certainly, from a philosophical perspective, am not one of those people that believe in a county going in debt. I think you pay as you go, and you pay what you can, and do not deficit spend and do not deficit budget.
Candidate Miller?
Yeah, I think it's important for the county to prioritize the needs, and then to make sure that sufficient funds are allocated to that priority. I think it doesn't make a lot of sense to me if you have X amount of dollars and you're trying to do too many projects. I think it's important to scale down those projects. It's important to use those funds that you do have, and and make sure that the top priority gets done and done well with sufficient funds. And I also agree with Todd. I'm not a big believer in deficit. So I think prioritizing and making sure that there's sufficient funds allocated to make sure that that project is done accurately, done well, fix it, get it done once and be done with it and then move on.
Candidate Robillard.
I am probably very fiscally conservative as far as spending money is concerned. I sit on the finance committee, so I do know the budgeting process. I've gone through the budgeting process. I've questioned a lot of things on the budget, in the budget, because of spending. Like I said, your budget is what your pet taxes are going to be. So I try to keep the taxes down for everybody and yet keep the county running smoothly. Thank you.
Candidate Jorgensen.
I would definitely agree with candidate Faze. From the village's perspective, we have always run things very similar. We do not typically carry a deficit at all. It's very rare. And I really believe that obviously our budget's a lot smaller than the county. However, a budget's a budget. I believe in very conservative spending and also long-term budget planning projects that are 5 and 10 and even 20 years out, putting money aside for that long to preemptively pay for some of these larger dollar expenditures is really important. I also don't believe that short-term band-aids are the answer for large projects or big infrastructure situations. So, there are going to be situations where you're going to need to spend money, that it kind of comes up, it happens, you have to do it. But truly budgeting for these things is really my answer to having a well-run budget. Thank you.
Candidate Smith.
Yes, when I was on the Kewaunee County Board, I was on the Finance and Public Property Committee. And our main goal there, which I would continue to pursue, would be to attempt to keep the tax rate or the mill rate constant. People don't want to see their taxes go sky high one year and then drop down the next year. To me, it's a goal of trying to keep that constant, and then you can plan your projects and you can build your contingency fund. So then if for some reason a communication system goes out or something, you've got money set aside in a contingency fund. The other experience I had while I was on the Kewaunee County Board had to do with implementing state and federal mandates. And sometimes that is where you get into a jam with budgeting, when the state says you got to do X, Y, and Z, but they're only giving you 50% of the money to do that. So you need to properly plan for those as well. And, then you just got your basics, where you've got to pay your payroll and your insurances, and got to make sure you're adjusting your budget for your health insurance, which is going to consistently go up. But my main goal would be to attempt to keep the tax rate constant. Thank you.
And now we'll check with Dan to see if they have time for another question.
We do, we're doing fine. So on to the next slide and the last question.
Okay, the last question will go to candidate Dave. Should the Door County Board take up resolutions pertaining to issues brought to it by the public, such as redistricting, mining, equity statements, etc.? And why or why not? Candidate Faze.
Yeah, well, certainly, from a public input perspective, as a county board member, if any constituent or any county member for that matter comes to you with whatever the topic is, I think you need to take it up. You need to learn about it and, put it into the right context and see if you can move that topic as best you can to serve that constituent. Now, certainly, as a county board member, we have a couple of jobs. One is policy setting and the other is budgeting. most of what happens as it relates to redistricting, mining, and equity statements of those things are either dealt with at a local level by some sort of a zoning, or the redistricting is somewhat dictated process from the state. So obviously an open ear to the constituents as to what their concern may be is what a county board member certainly needs to be wary of and take up. And if the issue is something that is worthy of a resolution or a committee, whatever it may be, it is that board supervisor's job to get it into the right area and introduce something that may potentially bring some resolution to whatever that topic may be, or whatever interest that person may have. So it's a broad question, but I think as a county board member, no doubt you have to take whatever constituent comes to you serious enough to try to move it to the next level, do what you can to solve it. Not all of them are solvable at the county board level. I'll certainly admit that, and I've seen that in the past year.
Candidate Miller.
Yeah, I would agree with Todd. I think if the part of your constituents brings a issue or a topic to you, I think it's our responsibility to vet it out, try to understand as best we can why they're bringing that issue forward, and then to determine if in fact it should move forward to an appropriate committee or wherever it might be. But certainly I think it's important to listen to the constituents and to do the best we can to understand their thought process and why they think it's important, and then move it forward accordingly.
Candidate Robillard.
I think it really should be brought to each individual committee, and make sure that it is a county project and not some individuals or outside interests necessarily, but something that is going to be out of concern to the county as a whole. Thank you.
Candidate Jorgensen.
I think the landscape of Door County is really changing rapidly, including the population density in certain rural, different rural areas. So some of those rural areas do lack adequate ordinances, or have not adopted county blanket ordinances. So it's difficult. And when someone's bringing up these issues, not only is it pertaining to their area, but it very well could pertain to another district in the county. So I think it's really important for the county to take, lend an ear to this, just to make sure that, a problem that's happening in one area very well likely is probably happening in another area, or could potentially happen in another area. So rather than reinventing the wheel each time, addressing it when it comes up is a really good way of dealing with things. It also helps to educate the public and generate awareness, and start conversations so that people can, municipalities can work through things, or it can go to a level above and beyond the county or municipality. Thank you.
Candidate Smith.
As was previously said, I think it's very important to address constituents' ideas or issues, but when it comes to making a resolution, which basically states that the county supports this, I think we need to be careful and make sure that we are getting input from the majority and not just chasing special interests. So I would think if it is a valid issue that affects the majority of the county, then yes, the county board should be taking up resolutions to these issues. Thank you.
Candidate Cunard.
In short, yes. I think having a conversation is the minimum. And I think that we've had so many great conversations on the county board. And I've heard a lot of criticism from other board members saying that we shouldn't take up resolutions or shouldn't take up issues like this. But anytime a group cares enough to communicate and engage with the government in any way, I think it's important. And what's that quote about a small group of concerned individuals is the only thing that, moves things forward. And I think a lot of times that's true. It's that movement behind elected officials that forces them into, pushes them into taking on some of these issues. And I think a lot of these issues that I see in front of me in this question were caused by government, were caused by policy. So of course, I think that we should definitely take up resolutions. I think it gives people a voice. I was even working with things that didn't get, put onto the full county board. I had tons of conversations with people from River Alliance about their Clean Water Now referendum, and they wanted counties to take that up to send a message to the state of Wisconsin that we deserve clean water, that clean water is a human right. So I had tons and tons of conversations, and we tried to bring it through Sustainability Committee. And maybe it'll happen in the future. But I definitely think Door County Board should take up resolutions 100%.
Well, we now come to the candidate's closing remarks. Each candidate has 2 minutes to make a closing statement or elaborate on any issues they wish. Candidate Miller will begin.
I'd just like to, again, thank League of Women Voters. I think there was some very good discussions amongst all of the candidates. Obviously, I believe each and every one of us are well qualified to be part of the county board. And again, as I mentioned in my opening statements, I just hope everyone in the county votes. We need to vote. We need to make our voices heard through vote. So as I mentioned, I appreciate your vote, but please get out there and vote. Thank you.
Candidate Robillard.
I would like, first of all, to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum. And I'm asking for the opportunity to be the supervisor for District 4. I was a supervisor for District 5 for a lot of years and served them. And was half a Gardner and still half a Gardner. Now it'll be all of Gardner and part of Nassau-Waupee. And I'm someone that is involved and invested in our community. I have been serving this community for many years and will still like to continue to serve this community. And thank you very much for everything. And please go out and vote on April 5th. Thank you.
Candidate Jorgensen.
Well, as many people know, this is not my first time running for supervisor position on the county board. In the past, I ran for District 3, and now everything has been redistricted, and I am now in District 2, which is technically my home district. In the past, I missed my opportunity by only a handful of votes, but that did not discourage me. In fact, it did the opposite. It actually inspired me to continue learning and offering my skills, my education, and my experience wherever possible to help our county and our neighbors. I really feel that engaging residents is so important, whether you are an elected official or not. Obviously, to serve the district that I grew up in and that I reside in today is an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. The community that has done so much for me, this is actually my opportunity to give them back something. So again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this event. Thank you very much.
Candidate Smith.
Yes, I would just like to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this and for giving us this opportunity to discuss these various issues. I'd also like to thank Jeff Miller for getting involved. I think in today's day and age, so often you see people not want to get involved in local politics. And it's great that both Jeff and I got involved in this, and that the constituents of District 5 will have a choice. And hopefully everybody will get out and vote. And once again, thank you. And it was great meeting you all.
Candidate Cunard.
Hi, again, my name is Kara Cunard, and I've been serving District 4 on the county board, and I'd like to continue to serve District 4 moving forward. and I'd appreciate your support. I want to stress that I'm willing to listen to what's important to you, and I look forward to hearing from you in any way that you want to communicate. I'm confident that we can handle problems together, and I really want to stress that I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm open to change. I have definitely changed my mind about things, so I'm very, very open to that. And I'm running because I don't feel like I care about what happens to me personally. I think that I have the unique ability to look outside of myself and set like my best interests aside and really care about the community we live in without thinking about myself. So I wanted to run again to be a voice in the decision-making of this entire county for my generation and also for my son's generation. I'm hoping to do that.
Candidate Days.
Thank you. Yeah, certainly I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters also in regard to putting this on. I think you did a very good job. It was very well ran and very well organized, and I think you did a good job in putting this forward. But as many of you have said, looking forward to coming to a vote. Obviously, we're here to ask for your vote for District 2. As Laura had mentioned, the redistricting has changed things up a tad bit here, and as many of you have done, I've done the same. Sent out letters to not only what was District 2, but what now includes the village of Forestville. Have spent some time to try and meet those that I didn't know prior to this election in the village of Forestville, understand the issues, and look forward to serving District 2 as the incumbent in District 2. The first years have really been a whirlwind. I guess I'd consider myself a freshman to the county board. Been on a number of committees that have made some important decisions, and now being retired, I'm really looking forward to, if elected, participating at certainly a much higher level. And appreciate all the candidates that had to speak today, those that moderated, and like everyone else, voting is your right, and certainly take it seriously, and hope everybody has a chance to do that. Thank you.
Well, thank you to all the candidates, and thanks again for being willing to run and serve if elected. Remember, the general election is on April 5th. You can check or update your registration or request and track absentee ballots at myvote.wi.gov. Be sure to follow all the instructions carefully, and if voting absentee, try to mail the ballot at least a week before election day or drop it off with your municipal clerk. Remember, voters can always register at their polling places when they vote. A recording of this forum will be made available to the public on the League of Women Voters Door County website, which is leagueofwomenvotersdoorcounty.org, and on our Facebook page. It may also be broadcast on local cable channels. The League will reach out to local media outlets and encourage the public to view the recording prior to voting. We ask all viewers to encourage others to listen to the candidates and help inform their vote. Thank you for watching and listening to the candidates for Door County Board of Supervisors, Districts 2, 4, and 5. That concludes this forum.